Hey, so someday this body that I possess will die. Might die. Most likely gonna die. When that happens, I want to make sure I left behind stories about my life, the story of my life, for my children. Because I never got to, after my mom passed away and my dad was gone, never got to hear any of his stories, and my grandma passed away. I thought about all the stories that I would have loved to ask them about. So many things I would have liked to know. But I never asked them because when they were still on the earth, I didn't think it important to ask them. So this here is a letter to my children of the story of my life. Thought about how I wanted to start this right now. I think I want to just, later I'd like to go through every day, tell different points and periods of my life. But right now I want to talk about what happened yesterday. Because yesterday was really cool. Yesterday, silly, I took you, we went to the thrift store, needed some new jeans, and we went to the dollar store. I think we were at the dollar. No, we were at the thrift store. We were at the thrift store when we found a set of keys sitting on a chair somebody had left behind. Somebody had accidentally left behind, and you picked them up. And we ran to the front of the store, and we tried to give them to you gave them to the clerk, and the clerk was like, "Well, okay." And she was like, "I'll give these to my manager." And I said, "No, we need to. Can you please get on the intercom and tell the people out there come pick up your keys if you can describe them, you know?" And the clerk was like, "Well, um, I'll do it later or something." I was real prominent on it. And silly, you were looking at me like, "Dad, leave it alone, it'll be okay." I've lost my key before. I know how panicked a person is when they lost their keys. I know that feeling. And so I kind of stayed on them. And they passed the keys up to the cashier, and we was checking out. And I mentioned to the cashier, I was like, "Why don't you get on that microphone real quick and tell the people that lost their keys to come get them and have them describe them, make sure you get the right person." Silly, you were giving me crap. You were like, Dad, they got it. They got it under control." And the lady was like, she said, "Well, I'll think about it and I'll do it. I'll do it later." What the heck? Do it now. So as we're walking out of the store, I'm looking around for somebody panicked. I'm trying to find somebody panicked. And we're getting in the car, and silly, you went ahead and got in the car, and I saw somebody come back out of the store, and he said to his wife, he said, "They had them. They were inside at the desk." And I said, "Hey man, you got your keys?" And he goes, "Yeah, was that you?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Uh, he said, the dude was practically almost in tears. He came up, and he was a bigger dude. He was a tough looking dude. He came up, and I didn't have a choice. That man hugged me. That grown man hugged me. And his wife popped around the corner of the car from back by their car, and she walked up, and she had tears in her face. And silly, you said you noticed that she was wiping her face. I remember feeling like I didn't see the tears themselves, but I could tell she was crying, and they were so grateful. She said, "The key to our house is on there. It's the only keys we got." Uh, they were so grateful. They were so grateful. That was awesome. That was a really good thing. I'm glad that came full circle where we was able to see the people get their keys back. we ended up, where did we go next? We went to Lowe's. We were at Lowe's, and this was really cool. This made the whole day. This made everything really awesome. There was a baby, a little maybe 2-year-old daughter that was with her dad. He was pushing her in the cart, and she was crying. She was crying. I think, Silly, I think you told me that you heard her crying for her mom. No, Terry's wife said she heard her earlier crying for her mom, but we knew she was crying. And at the first moment, when they popped around the corner at the end of the aisle, Silly, you were being silly. You were being silly. You were doing some silly stuff, and I was like, "Hey, Silly, there's a little kid over there." I was like, "Show them how to show them some light." And you turned around and you saw that crying baby, and what did you do? You started making silly faces, doing little funny dances, doing little funny silly stuff like you do. And that little girl, she looked at you and she paused for a moment. She was just confused. She stopped crying and she just looked at you. And it took a couple minutes. It took a minute and a half maybe, and then she smiled. She smiled, and then you kept going. You just kept doing your silly stuff, and you made that little girl smile. Uh, I noticed when you changed it around, the dad, I could tell he was grateful. He just kept looking at the stuff he needed to get, and he was letting you do your magic. And I said, "Okay, Silly, wave at your friend goodbye." And you stop and you waved at her, and that little girl, she waved back, and then we walked away. And then we had to come back by that aisle again, and that little girl, she was, she was, she was doing little 2-year-old happy talking stuff. And her whole day was changed. You made it, you turned that frustrating moment for that father, and you turned that sad moment for that baby. You made that moment for that family awesome, better. You healed it a little bit. You healed that situation. That type of stuff makes me so proud of you. So proud of you. We was at the checkout counter, and that little girl, well, before we was at the checkout counter, we was walking back by him again, and we heard them all laughing and stuff. Heard a little girl laughing and saying cute little funny things, and I was like, "Okay, Silly, don't let's not go back up there. Let's go to the other aisle, because sometimes you can overdo stuff." Um, And you looked at me confused. You're like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Silly, I've overdone stuff before. You got it. When you see that you've changed it, when you see that you've fixed the energy, be careful not to overdo it." And that didn't make sense to you, but maybe it will later. Because sometimes you can overdo it. I've noticed that sometimes I can overdo things. And so I get so excited. But I was worried that uh, if we went back by that little girl and did a little dance or something, maybe it would change the energy, and that maybe she would, when we walked around the corner again, she would start crying because you left. You'd already healed it, and anyway, so that was the thought in my head. But anyways, we're at the checkout, and they walk back by, and they're doing their awesomeness, and the little girl's doing her little cute talking stuff, and somehow we got talking about we got started in saying, you asked me something to the effect of, "Dad, why do you care so much? Why do you care so much?" And I was like, "Silly, because when you recognize that there's a whole bunch of light in you, and that's hard to do sometimes because we can be real hurt people, we can be real sad people, and we can forget how much light exists in us. But when you recognize that you got a bunch of light in you, it's almost like the rest of the world, all the people, are your children, and you gotta raise them." You said, "Stop it, Dad. You're going to make me cry right here in the store." Silly, I love you. I'm so proud to be your dad. You got a lot of light in you. Your light is bright, super bright. Sometimes this world can really get us down. There's some things in this world that can that can really hurt our feelings, and we can get mad. But no matter how mad you get, let that stuff go. Shine your light bright. The world needs it. I love you. This story ain't over.